presented. But when I talk about equal, I'm talking about the nature, right? So we understand that my human nature and Mashad's human nature is one of the same, from the same essence. You understand? It doesn't differ. You understand?
Yeah, but nobody has ever used the word equal this way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So let me take away the word equal now. I say
Thank you.
essence. You understand? Let me
Yeah,
say
so we're
essence.
we're both human beings, no
Yeah,
problem.
so we're both human beings, right?
Yeah, but we're
So
not
we
equal,
understand.
right?
Because you're trying to push me towards the transitive law, right?
I'm trying to push you towards the English language, right? In the
Nah.
English language,
Oh my
there's
days.
no reason for you to say we're equal. We're not equal in any way. I
You know, he
clearly
lives in England,
understand.
you know.
Why not just say that his analogy just entails there being three gods?
How so, bro? I said how so.
How? Because in this, if you make the analogy with a human being and the human nature, in the same way that you have multiple human beings with the same human nature, you still say that there are three men: Peter, James, and John, same human nature. They're three men: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, same divine nature, three gods.
I understand where you would probably get a conclusion from, but the difference lies is where these human beings are separate from one another. But when you talk about the Trinity, they're co-eternal and coexisting. So they haven't been separated from one another. So you wouldn't really necessarily see that they're three separate gods.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with them being separate. The way in which we count is if they're not identical, there's three of them. It has nothing to do with them being separated by time or space.
Identical in what sense, bro?
There's something true of one that's not true of another. They're not identical.
Can you break it down a bit more?
Yeah, the Father is not the Son, so they're not identical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not like Superman and Clark Kent, two names for the same person.
Mm-hmm.
They're two different persons. Father's unbegotten, the Son is begotten of the Father. The Father sends the Son goes into the world.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I don't deny that.
Yeah, so my point is they're not identical and they're both God, so they're two gods.
No, no, no. Because, like, for
So
example,
tell me how I counted wrong.
because hmm, let me try to.
Take out
What's
take out the calculator, G1,
nah,
and
nah, no.
push one plus
I
one
Rashad, but
plus.
you're true. You're true. You're true, right? So what you need to understand is right. So when we look at God as a whole, we
Can we
understand that
try the
He's.
algebra now?
You know, Clemo, if you want to talk, bro, I'll go on
No,
mute.
no, no. You're supposed to answer the question. I'll go back on me. Sorry, bro.
Okay, bro. Okay. So yeah, can you repeat that again, Muslim? Or was it Rashad who made that argument?
Yeah, I'm saying the way in which we count is by identity. So the way we count how many number of things there are is by the fact that they're not identical, which means there's a property that one thing has which another doesn't have.
Hmm.
So we count that there are three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, because of the fact that they're not identical. You can't say that because they're inseparable from one another, they're one God. Well, if the way in which you count the persons is that there are three persons, well, the persons are inseparable from one another. So why do you count them as three persons instead of one person? To be consistent, to say there's one God because they're inseparable from one another, you'd have to say that there's only one person because the persons are inseparable from one another. But you don't say that. You count them as three persons because of the fact that even though they're inseparable, they have different properties that are not possessed by the other.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So okay.
So
So I understand.
you either have three gods and three persons, or you have one God and one person. Those are the only consistent ways you can count.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I feel like it's one of those times where you have to.
Where what? You get saved by the bell?
Hey, Gio, stop reading the chat and listen to what X telling you, man.
He
You're
left.
reading
What
the
He
chat.
happened to
left.
him?
He left.
Huh?
When it
He
came
was reading the
down
chat.
to math, it failed him.
SubhanAllah.
So okay,
So
so I understand.
you either have three gods and three persons, or you have one God and one person. Those are the only consistent ways you can count.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I feel like it's one of those times where you have to.
Where what? You get saved by the bell?